I'd like to call the May 15th, 2023 meeting of the City Council for the City of Lake City to order. If everyone would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation to be given by Councilmember Shavella Young.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Oh, gracious God, we come before you at this moment, oh God, to tell you thank you. We thank you, oh God, for allowing us this opportunity to come together, oh God, to attend the business of Lake City. We ask, oh God, that you be with us, clear our minds and our hearts, oh God. Fill us, oh God, with the love for the city, the compassion, oh God, for the people, so that it will help us in our decision making. We ask, oh God, that you just bless each of you, each of us, each family represented. And please, Lord, don't forget our first responders and their families. Just have your way in this hour. In the mighty name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Here.
Ms. Young?
Here.
Mr. Sampson?
Here.
Mayor Witt?
Here.
Mr. Dial?
Here.
Mr. Cannon?
Here.
Chief Butler?
Here. Ladies and gentlemen, the Lake City Council has opened this public meeting. Since 1968, the city code has prohibited any person from making personal, pertinent, or slanderous remarks or becoming boisterous while addressing the city council. Yelling or making audible comments from the audience constitutes boisterous conduct. Such conduct will not be tolerated. There's only one approved manner of addressing the city council, that is to be recognized and speak from the podium. As a reminder, persons are not to openly carry a handgun or carry a concealed weapon or a firearm while the governing body is meeting. We have a couple of proclamations. The first one is National Police Week, May 14th through the 20th, 2023. Whereas the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officer Memorial Day, and this weekend which that follows is National Police Week. Whereas the members of law enforcement agency of the City of Lake City are an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the City of Lake City. Whereas it's important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of their law enforcement agency. That members of our law enforcement agency recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence and disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression. Whereas the men and women of law enforcement agency of the City of Lake City unceasingly provide a vital public service. Now therefore, I, Stephen M. Witt, Mayor of the City of Lake City, call upon all citizens of the City of Lake City and upon all patriotic, civic, and educational organizations to observe the week of May 14th through the 20th, 2023 as National Police Week, with appropriate ceremonies, observances in which all of our people may join in commemorating law enforcement officers, past and present, who by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities have rendered a dedicated service to their communities, and in so doing have established for themselves an enviable and enduring reputation of preserving the rights and security of all citizens. I further call upon all citizens of the City of Lake City to observe Monday, May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of those law enforcement officers who, through their courageous deeds, have made the ultimate sacrifice and service to their communities, or have become disabled in conformance to duty, and let us recognize and pay respect to the survivors of our fallen heroes. If law enforcement will come up front. Count for all you do. Next, we have a proclamation and recognition of Faye E. Williams. whereas Faye E. Williams has dedicated 44 years of service to a career with the city of Lake City, whereas Ms. Williams was hired in 1979 as a customer service cashier for the customer service department. And whereas Ms. Williams has also served as a customer service clerk, a customer service representative, and has ended her service as customer service representative 3. Whereas Ms. Williams received the City of Lake City Dedication Award in 1992, and whereas Ms. Williams is being honored by friends and co-workers who are deeply appreciative of her contributions to the city through the years. Whereas the governing body by this recognition wishes to express its great appreciation to Faye E. Williams for meritorious service, loyalty, and dedication to the city of Lake City. Therefore, I, Stephen M. Witt, Mayor of the city of Lake City, do hereby wish to recognize and honor Faye E. Williams for her commitment and dedication to her department and the city, and would like to wish her the best in her future endeavors. If Ms. Williams will come forward and all the customer service. All the customer service employees will come up here with us. Okay.
I know, right? Is that old band in Shasta? Yeah.
Does that include retired?
You don't know.
Let me go around that shirt.
Can't see her in the back. Can you see her in the video? Couldn't see you at all. Sorry. All right, everybody there, ready?
Okay.
Congratulations, Miss Faye.
Thank you.
Congratulations, thank you.
Thank you all so much. Speech.
Listen, so sweet.
Just so quiet. All right, thank you.
Okay, next we have minutes from April 18, 2023, special call city council joint city county meeting, and May 1st, 2023, regular session.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the minutes as published. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next, approval of the agenda. We have a presentation to make after this. So is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So move, Mayor. Second.
Motion and second to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. I think Ms. Young and Mr. Hill.
Ms. Young, if y'all.
Whatever y'all want to do.
If you'll use the mic, that way the people at home can hear you as well.
At this time, we ask that Mr. Chris Carradine.
Coach Joe, come on.
stand this evening on behalf of Lake City City Council for Northeast Florida League of Cities. And this is a $500 check. And Mr. Carradine, Chris Carradine is chosen. He is the director, can I say that? He is the director of Lake City Heat Incorporated, a young basketball league here. Mr. Carradine has carried this league a long way. Started with a few, and now there are a whole lot, and there's a whole lot of supportive parents who goes along with these young people. And I'm certainly, and I know this council, I can say that we're certainly proud of you. We appreciate you. You have really taken the community of Lake City to another level, and we are excited to see that you all go higher. And you have been chosen to receive this check for $500. So I present this on behalf of Northeast Florida League of Cities Incorporated, where the councilman, Jake Hill, is a member of the board of directors.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, next is public comments. First one I have is Nick Patel.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening, respected council members. Mayor, thank you for allowing me to speak today. The reason I'm here is to inform you how disappointed and frustrated I am at this process. Lack of transparency and communications from the city staff is appalling. It is also very confusing, costing us time and money. As you know, I came before you a few months back to express my deep concerns the direction the city staff was taking. Approving a truck stop without a special exception, and that too, using a different category under the city's present LDR to approve this development is wrong. It defies logic and simple understanding of the city's LDR. The facts are on our side. This should have never happened and approved. This is nothing but a truck stop. We strongly believe our appeal is allowed by the LDR was filed within time. Initially, we were told via a letter from the city attorney, Mr. Kennan, that the Board of Adjustment will not hear our untimely appeal, but the city council will be the right place to present our case, which was today. Last Friday, that decision was reversed, and now, as per standard procedure, we will be allowed to present our case with the Board of Adjustment. We look forward to that day. This was the right thing to do, and I appreciate. If we do not get a favorable outcome, the next step for us is to come to you and present our case, or go to the courts. Obviously, I'm not here to litigate this case today. The things I've asked last time was for transparency, to involve us, because this was going to affect us greatly, to hire an independent third party to determine why this development is not a truck stop. These things did not happen. The city has not been forthcoming. Therefore, since your responsibility is to govern the city, you must ask questions. The concerns you raised last time and the feedback you should have received as council members also did not happen. Look, I have worked with the same city officials in the past, and they're good people, and they mean well. But this baffles me at the lack of responsibility. I hope, and if and when opportunity comes to present the case in front of you. Hopefully you'll settle this mess. And thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. Hey, Mr. Warren?
Second, Mr. Mayor. I apologize, Mayor, I'm trying to get my little paperwork right. Yeah. Mr. Mayor, may I approach?
Sure.
This is from the committee for you to read and answer before I start the clock on my 3 minutes, and we'll hopefully can roll from there if you would, please. And Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind, can I approach each council member and pass one of these out and include them to the clerk?
Yes.
I know you're an assistant, but I thought about you.
Okay, what you handed me is about the form of government. It is the charter is not a strong mayor. The city manager runs the program. And it's spelled out by the charter. It's a long, complicated explanation, so but we all work as a board.
So we have a city manager form of government. And I think our last question is, without starting the clock, Mayor, was what is the consequences if a board member infringe on the city manager form of government?
I'm not sure right at the moment. Now, if you can read the charter, I could read the charter tomorrow, but I can't tell you right now.
Does legal know?
I'm not. Anyway, let's just do your 3 minutes.
Okay, Mayor, I want to, can we, would you give me a response to that?
I will.
Okay, because, go ahead.
From my experience, Mr. Warren, I've been accused of doing something that I wasn't. And when I was accused of doing that, Tallahassee got involved. I was put under an investigation with the ethics, with the Board of Ethics. So, well, I guess what are you asking is, what happened to a council member that goes outside of the scope of a city manager? In my experience, again, I was put on investigation for unethical practice.
And
I don't know if that answers your question.
That definitely answers my question, and I appreciate Councilman Hill. And I would ask that this board look at a certain council member who's working outside of the scope of his elected ability and doing the city manager job. My question, Mr. Mayor, is why do we have a city manager and assistant city manager, but we have a council member who's playing and acting the role as if he is either one or both? And there should be consequences for him doing so. And the ideal of setting up meetings with the county and to be doing what we call in the community backdoor consolidation is wrong. I wore this hat for a reason. I'm a Lake City loyalist. And if anybody ain't loyal to this city council and to this city government, they shouldn't be a part of this government. And they shouldn't work for this government. They should go wherever they feel that their loyalty is. And if I can't tell Mr. Dyer what to do, but if he found somebody that's not loyal to this government, he needs to get rid of them. Because the city, citizens, and this government is all we got. And if we don't fight for it and keep it safe and keep it protected, who else will? Everybody else is gonna come in and try to eat us like wolves. So I go on with my questions, Mr. Mayor. Where are we at on the property next to Sallie Mae Jerry Park, and why is it taking so long? We have 2 law firms that work for the city.
I haven't had an update lately, but I'll get Mr. Kennon to update us at the next meeting.
We have 2 law firms, right?
Right.
That work for the city. And we haven't had an update. And it's mighty unfortunate, Mayor, that we as a community have to come and almost ask and beg for updates when I've seen other people come and updates are just given. You don't find something wrong with that picture? And maybe not. Moving on. Also, what is the delay on moving the downtown historical sign? I've talked to staff, in particular, I think it was Steve Brown, saying something about it's tied up in a legal decision as to whether or not we're gonna move the sign. The council voted to move the historical sign down next to the dollar store, period. Nobody overrides the council. The historical board didn't stop y'all from paving East Railroad Street with brick pavers on it, and it didn't stop y'all from paving West Railroad Street with brick pavers on it. So why all of a sudden now is legally involved with the sign getting moved down there in its rightful place? Downtown, whether people want to believe it or not, it begins next to 100 in the black community. We can't help that. So
Well, we'll get updates on all those issues.
we just want what we voted for, Mayor. If you give me a few more seconds, I would like to see an ordinance, Mayor, on North Marion Street. You got an outside flea market going on down there in front of Sallie Mae Jerry Park. And either we set an ordinance and get with legal, and they need to blind their fences or put fences up 6 feet high, blind them so that it's not an eyesore. People are now starting to invest in that area. And if it continues to be an eyesore, we're gonna lose that motivation of people willing to invest.
Okay, we'll look into all those issues. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have signed up, so we'll move the no consent agenda. Under old business, we're to hold a public hearing on city council ordinance number 2023-2242. Can we do that by title?
Ordinance number 2023-2242, an ordinance of the city of Lake City, Florida, amending the future land use plan map of the city of Lake City comprehensive plan as amended, relating to an amendment of more than 50 acres of land pursuant to an application CPA 23-01 by the property owner of said acreage under the amendment procedures established in sections 163.3160 through 163.3248 Florida statutes as amended, providing for changing the future land use classification from county residential low density, less than or equal to 2 dwelling units per acre, county commercial and city commercial to city residential, moderate density, less than or equal to 4 dwelling units per acre, on certain lands within the corporate limits of the city of Lake City, Florida, providing severability, repealing all ordinance in conflict, and providing an effective date.
Anybody in the audience wish to speak for or against this ordinance?
If not, we'll close the public hearing, move into adoption of city council ordinance 2023-2242 on final reading.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve resolution 2023-2242. Final reading.
We have a second.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion by council? Ms. Ox, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. Next, we're to open a public hearing on city council ordinance 2023-2243 on final reading. Mr. Kenny, would you read that one by title?
Yes, ordinance number 2023-2243. An ordinance of the city of Lake City, Florida, amending the official zoning atlas of the city of Lake City land development regulations as amended, relating to the rezoning of more than 10 contiguous acres of land pursuant to an application Z23-01 by the property owner of said acreage, providing for rezoning from county residential single family to RSF2, county commercial intensive CI and city commercial general CG to city planned residential development PRD of certain lands within the corporate limits of the city of Lake City, Florida, providing severability and repealing all ordinances in conflict and providing an effective date.
Anybody in the audience wish to speak for or against this ordinance? If not, we'll close the public hearing, move into adoption of city council ordinance 2023-2243 on final reading.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve ordinance 2023-2243, final reading.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion by council? Secretary, you call the roll, please.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. Okay, next we have City Council Resolution 2023-031. Mr. Kenny, would you read that by title?
City Council Resolution number 2023-031, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, terminating the interlocal agreement between the city and Columbia County, Florida, for the engagement of the county's building official to act as a city building official.
Okay, this was tabled previously. Mr. Dow, did you want to address that?
Will it needs to be removed first? Yeah, you have to have a motion to remove from the table so it can be considered.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to remove from the table Council Resolution 2023-031.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Any discussion? Secretary, you call the roll.
Yes, since we're removing this, my problem with this is, the Bailey, this is with the Bailey, associate, right?
North Florida Professional
No,
Services?
North Florida, yes.
Yes, sir.
Again, I like the idea of we doing business with someone local. But if they're not doing their job, and which as of this moment, I'm not completely satisfied with North Florida Professionals. I don't know if we have a contract with them or not, but I'm not satisfied with the job that they're being paid for from the city.
We need to vote on the motion first. Secretary, you call the roll.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. Okay, now we can have discussion.
You need a motion to,
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion for approval City Council Resolution 2023-031.
Second.
Been a motion and a second.
Mr. Mayor, so is it possible that once the notice is given that we could still utilize the county until we have our person in place? Mr. Dial?
Yes.
Yes, sir. In my discussions with Mr. Kraus, basically what this will just do is if we're allowed to terminate this agreement, it triggers a 6-month notice for the county. And Mr. Kraus has already had conversation, I've had conversations with Mr. Kraus, but the county is still willing to help us as long as it takes to get something in place. It's just hard to get anything in place right now as far as hiring a building official or going out for a contract, knowing that we're still obligated to the county. This basically just triggers that 6 months to give us time to bring it back in-house or to contract it out. And to your point, Mr. Hill, we do not have a contract with North Florida right now. There's other options we can look at. This was just, basically, like I said, it's just to trigger that 6-month agreement so we can start being serious about bringing this back in-house. The county is really overloaded in their building department, and this will take some of the burden off of them. It will give us a little more oversight on the permitting process that we do. So we're just asking our administration, just asking to move forward with notifying the county that we are willing to terminate the agreement with them.
Mr. Warren, you want to speak to this?
Yes, sir, Mayor and Council. I support 100% terminating this contract. I'm a developer. My girlfriend is a licensed broker. We develop in the city and throughout the county. And I'm going to tell you one thing that is a fact. And you can get Rick Galloway, you can get everybody up here. every department needs their own building official. That running to the county stuff, asking them to do stuff for the city, you're the last man on the totem pole. I'm telling you, I caught the devil. I'm building my Uncle Larry, my Auntie Tina building down there, and I had to fight with them. They told me before the 6 to 8 weeks before I can get a permit because they had other county people that they had to deal with first. So in other words, the city last. So yeah, we need our own building department. If anybody thinks that if you got 2 municipality governments, a county and a city, and the county is holding the power of the building official department, then somehow they're gonna prioritize city residents and city buildings. They're gonna prioritize county people. And then we're paying them money based on what it costs to build a building, and it's going in their pocket. They're not giving it back to the city, are they, Mayor?
I'm not exactly sure how all the money flows, but
Well, Mayor, we're gonna have to know a lot more than what we know, Mayor.
Right.
But I'm telling you, that's not how it should go. Every department should have their own building official. Whether we have to go outside and contract and get it, so that person is paid by us, so he work for us, so he do like we say do, and he run our permits in a timely manner, and we're not put on hold by the county. It ain't right, Mayor. Now watch, I'm going to pull a permit next week out there in Emerald Cove. I bet they have it for me in 4 or 5 days. But when I pulled the one down there, they told me 6 to 8 weeks.
okay,
Mr. Mayor,
yeah,
I think going forward, one thing we need to be cognizant of, I'm sure Mr. Dial's aware of, is long-term, the building official system is broken in this state. I mean, the requirements they put on, by the time you get someone that's qualified to do it, it's hard to keep them in government. So I think long-term, there's other options that I'm sure the administration will look at, maybe down the road, we could have, the engineers do the inspections for the people that are getting the building permits. There's other solutions that may be available long-term.
staff, makes this right.
I mean, why we don't have a provisional program like the county? That's how they're able to obtain all of their building inspectors. I've asked this board for years to develop a provisional program.
Right. But the staff thinks this is the best way to go, and I support it. Anybody else have anything? Ms. Secretary, call the roll, please.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Whit?
Yes. Okay, next is Richardson Community Center grant update. Mr. Dial.
Yes, Mayor. Mr. Kraus was asked to be here tonight, but he's tied up on another engagement. I did have a conversation with DEO last Friday. We do have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow afternoon to discuss with DEO and their environmental side. They're having some issues with the fact that the county has recorded the deeds, and that's what this meeting will be to discuss, to see if there is a path forward since they have been recorded.
Mr. Warren, you want to speak to this one too?
Nah, I mean, we dropped the ball on it. You know how I feel about it. I'm done with it.
Anybody else have anything on the council? Next, we'll go to discuss update status on Citizen Review Board, Mr. Hill.
It's been a couple of years ago now, Audrey. This was going on when Chief Gilmore was here. It was supposed to have been, looking at getting some type of community review board. Have they, Mr. Dow?
No, sir. Since I've been in, there has been no discussion on this. I think this is one where it needs to be set up as a workshop to get the community and the council's guidance on how we want to, what the authority or whatever will be based on the committee. It may take more than one meeting, but I think the community needs input along with the council to come to a reputable way to find out how it needs to be structured and what the authorities will be of that committee.
Okay. So we just need to set a workshop date.
Right.
Yes, sir, I think that would be the best way to have, that way you get community involvement and everything can be outlined based on what the community is looking for, and give the council time to decide what they're looking for as far as governance on this.
Mr. Moore, you want to speak to this one?
Yeah, I definitely want to speak this, Mr. Mayor, and I just disagree with what the administration. If we would have had a citizen review board in place when we should have had one, guess what wouldn't have happened? Vanessa wouldn't have been assaulted by an officer. If we would have had a review board in place, Carpenter, when I first reported him and I begged the administration to open up outside investigation when he tried to fight me at the dollar store, and now he falsely arrested me down there in front of the salon, we wouldn't be here. The citizen board is past overdue. Past overdue. Workshops and all that stuff is delayed. There are ways that we do not have to reinvent the wheel. The most effective way, the ACLU has already recommended that the citizen review boards have their own investigation power, and what needs to be included is subpoena power, as well as the ability to offer transparency to the community. Right now, police union contracts often block what information can be shared by officers' conduct. The boards also need to have the power to discipline officers, because we already see that when IA get involved, nothing happens. Officer agreed to chop my head off and want my head chopped off, he gets a 2-day suspension. One officer called a council member daughter a hood rat, and he gets a 1-day suspension. And he's a sergeant. He was talking to his upper management, and he was laughing about it, asking he wish could he be there. Mel, we have a bad cop culture, period. And them boys back there, they don't want to do nothing about it because the blue is sticking together. Look, I have family in law enforcement. I have nothing against backing the blue, but let me tell you what backing the blue do not mean. Backing the blue do not mean backing them on everything they do when they're wrong. Backing the blue means supporting them when they're out there fighting and doing what they're supposed to do. Profiling, harassing, and treating citizens like it's in the 50s and the 60s is not going to be tolerated, Mayor. And so this administration has done nothing but drag their foot on this. And I've had to obtain a lawyer because of this delay, $25,000. And when I finish beating you all on this case, I'm gonna sue y'all, so y'all better go ahead and get Todd Kennon ready to file a lawsuit to litigate me back, because I want my money back. $25,000 I had to cough up yesterday for an attorney fee on some bogus charges that y'all won't do nothing about. And y'all still ain't did nothing about the officer assaulting Vanessa. They're still riding around on the beat. Mayor, this is BS. You're the mayor, this is the council, here's the administration. This needs to come to an end. This should never be happening to citizens. I should never have to fork out $25,000 on something I didn't do.
Okay, we're gonna look into it.
No, we're tired of them. Mayor, why every time we come up here, we're always gonna look into it? Didn't I just tell you I spent $25,000? You don't care about me spending $25,000 on 2 misdemeanors that had nothing to do with me? You gonna reimburse me back my money?
No, sir. All right, our 3 minutes is up.
May I speak on this?
Yes.
I guess this citizen advisory board, or whatever name you want to give it, we have a chief that's very, very intelligent, in my opinion. Of course, you're going to have good officers, you're going to have bad officers, and those are the officers that needs to be disciplined. Don't get me wrong. But discipline by a citizen review board, I don't think that's even necessary. I think that we should hold the officer or officers accountable for their action. Having a board such as this, I don't know what it's going to do, because they still don't have no power to do anything. They could start an investigation, their own investigation, but you have to go by the law. If the law says do it, you do it. The law says don't do it, you don't do it. And I believe the chief of police is more than competent to discipline every officer that violates a citizen in this community. So a citizen advisory board, I don't think is necessary. That's just my opinion.
But we're gonna get one of them.
And I'll take it as
Voting on
that.
it.
So I like to, can I get done? I like to make a motion that we don't even.
We don't have it on.
We don't have it on.
Action, it's just an update.
Okay, just an update. Well, on the update, whenever it comes up, I would not be for a citizen review board simply because the chief of police and the majority of the staff does a very, very good job. You have that one or two that we're gonna have to discipline when it's necessary. So that's just my opinion on that.
Okay.
I do have something to say on that. I don't know when we find that it's necessary. Anytime it's something, as the nature that we have been hearing, it's necessary. So we're at the time now where it's necessary. The thing I have about this is this is something that was voted on by the board prior to, okay, now we pulled something out and dusted it off with Richardson Community Center, and we had to save our face. So I'm wondering now, what about our faces now? That's my concern. If it was voted on, we need to dust it off and save our face. That's the problem I have with it. I don't know what power
We voted on it, but we didn't, we voted to establish the board, but we never pursued it.
my point exactly.
Just we need to look back at the minutes and see what we actually did vote on and did. All right, so next is discussion possible action, planning zoning board application received from Mr. Warren. Mr. Warren, did you want to address this?
Mr. Mayor, I understand that we have a vacancy on the planning and zoning board. I own property from 100 throughout the whole historical district. I don't think that there's one single person own more historical property on Marion Street than I do. I've done a lot of development throughout Lake City in the county. And I'm right now currently working on a two-project subdivision, one that will consist of 10 homes, one will consist of between 14 to 16 homes, which would be a combined of about 24, 26 houses. And so if you look at my resume and you look at some of the other people that's on the board, I find myself to be as equally, if not more qualified for that position. That position has been open and vacant for the longest, and this is my second time asking for it. And it's been vacant ever since then. And so I would ask the council tonight to move in such a way that they would fill this vacancy and they would fill it with me and someone who believes in and understand what development is about. If you, for instance, take the Nick Patel situation, I think a lot of times planning and zoning boards fail us because they don't do what are called site visits. I'm big on doing site visits. Even though I'm pulling a permit next week on a lot I own in Emma Cove, we're still going out to do a site visit. I think if we do site visits, instead of letting our friends or whoever we know come in here and present their case to us, and as a zoning board we say, yeah, let's go look at the site and see whether or not what's on the paper will actually meet the standard of what's in the LDR and what's best for the community. That would be something that I would bring to the table as it relates to planning and zoning. Thank you. And I have commercial building experience as well, which I got 2 commercial buildings going on now.
Thank you. Okay, council, what y'all want to do?
Well, you solicitor?
I was gonna say.
Well, again, going back to the Nick Patel, when that was presented to us a few months ago, I commented on what they're trying to do out there, and I've been out there several times, and what they're trying to do is this beside what, I guess what we're saying here, but I need to say this. That, what they're trying to, Circle K is trying to do out there, it won't work. I don't care what kind of lanes they put in, that won't work. So, Mayor, again, I agree with Mr. Warren on site visiting. And when he said site visiting, I would make the motion that he be put on this board.
A motion, second.
I'll second.
Been a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Even though I made the second, you said discussion, may I?
Sure.
But Mr. Warren, so can you come back up to the podium, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Attorney. Councilman Attorney, I'm sorry.
Yes, so I looked over your application and you said that you had the experience, you had the knowledge, and you have the passion to do the job according to the rules.
Yes, sir.
When you, I don't want you to be too passionate when somebody comes up and asks questions, they need answers. I want you to be cool, calm, and collect in whatever you do. You understand? So please, if you get this position on this board, just make sure that everybody is not as smart and as intelligent as you are. They have the passion, but they're not like you, okay? Just make sure you understand that.
May I say something?
No, I really wish, wait till we get done. Let's see what happens.
I just want to
Go ahead.
I just want to respond back to you. There is a difference between Sylvester Warren, the businessman, and Sylvester Warren, the activist. So when you see Sylvester Warren coming up here talking about the community, you're talking about Sylvester Warren, the activist.
Yes.
But if you talk about me as an entrepreneur in this community, you're talking about a multi-million-dollar guy that spent money, who don't play games, and who's not yelling and being passionate. I'm only passionate about the issues where our community lack funding and lack the help in which they need. Other than that, I'm the most professional businessman you'll ever meet.
Yes, sir, don't tell me that. Tell the mayor that. I already know this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second. We had some discussion, any further discussion? Ms. Sykes, you call the roll.
Mayor, before I call the roll, I would like to add, it's going to be a motion to appoint Sylvester Warren to the Planning and Zoning Board. I will go ahead and add a resolution number to the motion, if that's okay with Mr. Hill and Mr.
Yes.
Jernigan,
Yes.
to streamline it,
Okay.
okay? You understand what I'm doing, Mr. Warren?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
No.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
And Mayor Witt?
Yes.
Ms. Sykes, I'll get with you tomorrow, we just need to put the specific seat that's being appointed also
Yes.
on that resolution and the term.
Next, under new business, we have a city council ordinance 2023-2245 on first reading. Ken, would you read that back?
Ordinance number 2023-2245, an ordinance of the City of Lake City, Florida, amending the future land use plan map of the City of Lake City Comprehensive Plan as amended, relating to an amendment of 50 or less acres of land pursuant to an application CPA 23-02 by the property owner of said acreage under the amendment procedures established in sections 163.3161 through 163.3248 Florida statutes as amended, providing for changing the future land use classification from residential moderate density, less than or equal to 4 dwelling units per acre, to residential medium density, less than or equal to 8 dwelling units per acre, of certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Lake City, Florida, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date.
Is there a motion to adopt city council ordinance number 2023-2245?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to adopt City Council Ordinance 2023-2245.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? Ms. Sykes, you call the roll.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. Next, item 12 is city council ordinance number 2023-2246 on first reading. Ken, will you read that?
Ordinance number 2023-2246, an ordinance of the City of Lake City, Florida, amending the official zoning atlas of the City of Lake City, land development regulations as amended, relating to the rezoning of more than 10 contiguous acres of land pursuant to an application Z 23-02 by the property owner of said acreage, providing for rezoning from county residential single family 2, RSF 2, to city residential multiple family, RMF 1, of certain lands within the corporate limits of the city of Lake City, Florida, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date.
Is there a motion to adopt City Council Ordinance 2023-2246 on first reading?
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to adopt City Council Ordinance 2023-2246 on the first reading.
Second.
Been a motion and a second, any discussion? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. Item 13, City Council Ordinance 2023-2247 on first reading. Mr. McKenna, would you read that by title?
Ordinance number 2023-2247, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, amending the city code to add a new section number 86-110.19 to Article 3, Chapter 86, which provides for the permanent vacating of the 30-foot wide utility easement located at Parcel 2 at Lot B, Brookside subdivision, a subdivision according to the plat thereof recorded Plat Book 3, page 45 of the Public Records of Columbia County, Florida, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing an effective date.
Is there a motion to adopt City Council Ordinance 2023-2247?
Mr. Mayor, I make the motion to approve ordinance 2023-2247.
Second.
Been a motion and a second, any discussion? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. Okay, now we're into resolutions. We got City Council Resolution 2023-053. Mr. Kenny, would you read that by title?
City Council Resolution number 2023-053, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, authorizing the execution of the Second Amendment to the agreement with the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, providing for public access, reuse, and chlorine contact chamber upgrades, providing for an extension to the agreement deadline, and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion that City Council Resolution 2023-053?
Mr. Mayor, make a motion for approval of City Council Resolution 2023-053.
Second.
Been a motion and a second, any discussion? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. Item 15, City Council Resolution 2023-054. Mr. Kenny, would you read that by title?
City Council Resolution number 2023-054, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, authorizing the execution of a grant agreement with the State of Florida Department of Transportation for 80% of the allowable cost associated with the design and install of security fencing, gates, access control improvements, and installation of new cameras at the Lake City Gateway Airport, and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion that City Council Resolution 2023-054?
Mr. Mayor, I make the motion to approve resolution 2023-054.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. Item 16 is City Council Resolution 2023-055. Mr. Kenny, would you read that by title?
City Council Resolution number 2023-055, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, authorizing the execution of task assignment number 1 to the continuing contract with Wetland Solutions, Inc., providing for engineering services related to the Steedley Field wetland, provided for payment for the professional services at a cost not to exceed $498,800, and providing an effective date.
Is there a motion that City Council Resolution 2023-055?
Mr. Mayor, motion for approval of City Council Resolution 2023-055.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
No.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. Item 17 is City Council Resolution 2023-056. Mr. Kenny, would you read that one?
City Council Resolution Number 2023-056, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, accepting a proposal from ABS Aviation Consultancy, Inc., DBA Airport Business Solutions, related to the appraisal of airport property for fair market rent of the location leased by HACO of Americas, providing for the award of a contract, providing for the execution of the construction, engineering, and inspection contract for a price not to exceed $32,500, and providing an effective date.
Is there a motion that City Council Resolution 2023-056?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion, City Council Resolution Number 2023-056.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mayor Whit?
Yes. Item 18, City Council Resolution 2023-057. Mr. Kenny, would you read that by title?
City Council Resolution Number 2023-057, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, authorizing the execution task assignment number 8 to the continuing contract with North Florida Professional Services, Inc., providing for engineering services related to the water main extension on Southeast Magnolia Loop, providing for payment for the professional services at a cost not to exceed $3,570, and providing an effective date.
Is there a motion that City Council Resolution 2023-057?
Mr. Mayor, make a motion for approval of City Council Resolution 2023-057.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll, please?
Was that Mr. Jernigan second? Okay. Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
No.
Okay. Ms. Young?
Yes.
And Mayor Whit?
Yes. Okay. Item 19, discussion of possible action, airport fire station, Councilmember JQ.
Yes, I received, I talked to, Mr. Dow a couple of weeks ago about a meeting supposed to be held at the airport. And in that email that was sent out, last I checked, and I was the chairperson of the airport. I wasn't included in, didn't know anything about a meeting being held at the airport. And I wish somebody would explain to me what's going on.
Well, our committee hadn't been operating for a couple of years, we need to meet on that and get those going again, but we've got to make some modifications of the ordinance before we can get back to business.
Okay, but at the meeting, the last meeting, I still was the chairperson out there.
Right.
So until something changed, I think I'm still, unless you tell me different,
Well,
I am the
have to look and
chairperson of the
see.
airport.
The appointments were for 2 years, I think, so I don't know how long.
Mr. Mayor, I would think that Mr. Hill would still be the chairman of the airport committee, just ad hoc. We
Well,
had
that's kind of the way we've
addressed
done
with
it.
the attorney about updating that at the last meeting. I'm not aware of any meeting that took place at the airport.
Right. But anyway, we need to get that straightened out. And we will have to-
Well, Mr. Dow, could you tell me about what was supposed to go on at this meeting?
Well, the conversation, when you asked me, Mr. Hill, what I stated was, and yes, when I say administration, myself and Mr. Johnson, we still try to keep you apprised of anything that happens with the airport, because technically you are still the airport chairman. So anything that we do, as far as anything from ACO on down, we generally try to make you aware of, even though we're not meeting with the committee. It was brought to my attention that there was supposed to be a meeting that I got forwarded from Mr. Johnson, that the fire chiefs and someone that got together, and there was discussions about putting a fire station on or near the airport, which I was not aware of, to make you aware of it, and that's what I told you that day. Once I found that out, we brought the chief in, and me and Mr. Johnson having a discussion with him, that that was not the proper procedure to go through when discussing something as major as putting a fire station at the airport. It should have went through administration first to find out how we wanted to move forward with it. Now, as far as how the actual discussions got started, we've heard several different things, but we have not been able to verify any company or anything that wants to supposedly come out there. It was just, as far as we said that there would be no further meetings on as far as any other than just the fire chiefs themselves to be able to plan for the future, but not any specific thing that we're trying to implement at this time.
HECO does the fire suppression out of the airport now, right?
No, sir, HACO does not have a fire at the airport.
I thought that was part of their contract. I guess we need to look into it. All right, anything else?
Mayor, if I could, I was told something about boots and badges. They're gonna have a police team, sheriff department, first responders, and we wanna try to get a city team to compete in that boots and badges fundraiser. So if y'all would, chief, please get a team up and y'all go out there and the fire department get a team up.
We currently hold the trophies.
So, yeah, that's what I'm hoping and praying, that we have a lot of participation from our end, the city fire and first responders. Please put a team out there and let's have fun. That's what it's all about right there. Thank you.
Thank you. Next Tuesday, is that the memorial service at First Baptist Church?
Yes,
I
sir.
think it's at 6 o'clock, 6:30. But they put it on every year in May, and well attended. Anybody else got anything?
Yes, Mr. Johnson and Mr. Dow, any updates on Gwen Lake?
Yes, sir, we actually talked to North Florida today, but me and Mr. Johnson have also enlisted an engineer that we use, or an engineering firm that we use for projects out at the Springfield, Wetland Solutions. And we've asked them to come in. They've already went down and looked at the lake. Chris Keller, which he's the president of Wetland Solutions, was gracious enough to go down and look at it coming from a meeting at Swanee River. So we're enlisting a set of new eyes and new ideas and the connections that they have to be able to find some funding and see if we can't get something, because we've explained the situation. I've explained the situation to Chris. We've sent him the information, some information that we had originally on Gwen Lake, to see if they're able to help us move forward and at least be able to get in there and clean out some vegetation or something along those lines, just to show that we're trying to get something done. I know we're a little slack on the funding right now, but we could do some in-house, at least, you know, if we can get it permitted, just to get in there and clean some of that stuff out.
Well, that's gonna be my next question. Can you set up a meeting or something with Swanee River Water Management and try to get, tell them what we can do?
Yeah, we can get with them and see if we can set up a meeting, and once Chris and them determine what we might be able to get permitted through them and what we can do in-house, at least to get it started. And if we can get it started, then we can start working on the funding to get some later on and do the big part, which would be the drainage structures and things like that. So we're hoping to be able to just get something where we can get some equipment in there and clean some stuff out.
Anything else?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Oh, go.
Okay, that's concerning what we're already on.
Yes.
So go ahead.
Okay, so I was gonna ask about, and I already asked Mr. Dow about this, the Wilson Park, a CDBG grant, and completing that so that we can move forward with other grants. I think a CDBG grant may even help out with what we're looking for at Gwen Lake. If it's possible, we could look into possibly altering that current grant to maybe reduce the scope of what needs to be done at Wilson Park. I don't know if this board would be agreeable to it, but I know the big holdup is that band shell, I believe. And I think, is it DEP holding it up, or?
Yes, sir, DEP, they're the ones that, we had to buy mitigation. We talked to Kellen today, and they're in the process now of actually reviewing the plans in the hopes of permitting them. And once they get permitted, then we can move forward with the ban shell, if that's the decision that's made. That's the only thing that's holding us up right now, is to get that. Hopefully, I don't think, from the conversation today, that they're going to require any more mitigation credits, but that's not to say that they won't.
Thank you.
Yes, I had, my concern is, Annie Maddox Park. And I don't know why I thought it was on the agenda. I think I called and Ms. Sykes was out and I never got back with her. But, let me say my spiel on Annie Maddox Park. And as I'm sure we all know that, we have this grant and we have the monies and, we have the bids and we have gotten a great, amount for bid, when I say great, in our favor. So, but it seems that a problem has arisen or has been there and has been brought to the forefront. I remember sitting in that audience and it came up about Annie Maddox Park, and a requirement was requested, and I know that the president, Ms. Austin, agreed, and I couldn't understand why she agreed to it. And the requirement is that they have to pass a level 2 background check. Now, I have sat in that audience and I have witnessed several people, companies, entities, whatever, and I have not heard not one of them be asked to do a level 2 back, or for that much, no background check. And we can't get into the practice of singling out, because I feel like it's a single out. Annie Maddox Park is mainly for the young people, and it's for family. And I don't want, and I pray that we don't lose out these volunteers who donate their time to make sure that park is run properly. And pretty much the board, that's what they do. They oversee this park. They're not having children and youth events. They're particularly overseeing this park to make sure everything is run correctly, making sure that the business side of it is taken care of. And I certainly appreciate them for that. And I don't want us to delay this project. This project must go on. And I also want us to do away with that background check, remove it from the contract. And not that I know anything about any particular person, is that we have not requested this across the board. If you're gonna do it for one, do it for all. And I say we remove it from that contract, get this business run on, get Annie Maddox Park, get these basketball courts, tennis courts resurfaced, get these lights out there, get these cameras out there, and get a beautiful park in the community. And let's save some children, rather than us having these personal agendas or whatever it is. In this adult side of it, we gotta kill it. We have young people who are suffering because they don't have a orderly, nice place to go to. Can you all see that our youth are suffering because we can't get it together? Because we have personal agendas, and we have got to get to a place where they are our greatest concern. Our interest is our young people. And I know y'all hear me harp on this all the time, but I'm gonna keep harping on it until we get in line with it. There was something else. Let me look at my note real quick. Or maybe that was it. So, I don't know who has to answer the question. What do we need to do so that this project can move on? And let's have that removed from the contract.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, one more comment on that. So I will never be for waiving background checks for people around children. It just makes sense. I don't want my kids around people who haven't had background checks. I do believe it should be uniform. If someone's doing something with children, that we would require that. And I think that's something we should do going forward. It doesn't make sense to open up the door and allow children to be exposed to that danger when it's an easy thing to do, and the city's even willing, I think we discussed with that group, Annie Maddox, about paying for the background checks.
Okay, now my question is, why Annie Maddox Park?
I would say any part.
Okay, then, we haven't done that. We have not required a single other person to require a background check. Not one other person. Why Annie Maddox Park? And this board is not, they don't have direct contact with these children. When these children are out there, this board is home, resting from their labor that they've already done. They're not out there around the children unless they're at the park with their own or whoever it is. But you know, we cannot, that's one area we cannot, because so many people are in and out of that park. So many people. This grant, these projects that's happening at Annie Maddox, everybody it's a private owned park, but it's a public park. Many people go out there. Are we gonna stand out there and do background checks to everybody come through? No. Leave that board alone. That board is set in place, and whoever is the target here, hey, let those people do what they're doing. They don't have direct contact with those children. It's a beautiful thing happening at that park, and let's not put a shadow over it.
Okay. Anybody else?
Well, the individual that we're talking about, I know that individual personally. And from what I know about this individual, he was wrongly accused of what he done. He served whatever time he had, he paid his debt. So again, I agree with you on letting this move forward, but I also understand about what the individual we're talking about. And if you knew this individual, I'm just saying, if you knew this individual, you would know that he isn't that type of person. He just got caught in a bad situation.
I don't think it's tied to one individual. I think it's exposing children. Well, that one's one important one, but I think it's just about exposing children needlessly. And I think any park should have that. It's about protecting the children.
And again, I'm for protecting the children as
Anybody
well.
else? Not, we will be adjourned. Thank y'all for coming.
I don't think my question got answered. Amen.
What's your question?